I'm really fascinated by your breakdown of the different literacies because in marketing, we look at the customer or the client and we need to understand what they need and want as well as how we can bring that to them. But I have difficulty trying to distinguish one from another. So if I talk about a personal literacy and then I talk about a social literacy, how do you distinguish the differences?
Right. Well, in the book, I talk about personal literacy being about one, aggressive insight, which is a deep understanding of yourself. I mean, one of the things that we've learned from science about emotional intelligence is that those people who have a deep understanding of who they are more successful than others. They both know themselves better and they're able to read the emotions of other people. And so your emotional intelligence is really, really critical to your success. And that's been a finding that we've learned in the last 10 years. That's relevant all around the world. Secondly is confident humility. Confident humility is being self-confident yet humble enough to listen and learn from other people. In a global economy, that's very, very important because you have to know what you know, but you have to be open to listening and learning from other people. And if you're too confident or too arrogant, you miss things. It's one of the reasons why the Japanese have been so successful at selling cars. You know, one of the things that the Japanese do better than anybody else in the world is that they listen. They're a nonverbal society. And we Westerners miss all kinds of communication from our Japanese friends because they are reading the nonverbal communications in terms of how they bow, how they smile, how they interact with people in different situations. So how does this relate to business? Well, Toyota, who was number 3 in the world behind Ford and General Motors and at one time Chrysler, decides 10 years ago that they're going to go into the United States and they're going to study the way Americans drive cars and buy cars. And suddenly they realize that we love our big trucks and they love our marketing and they love our bold communications and we love quality. And so they create a Corolla and they create a Lexus and they compete head on with General Motors and Ford. And right now Toyota is about ready to become the #1 global car company in the world. And I'm convinced that the reason why they did it was that they had the capacity to listen to their markets, listen to their customers globally around the world. Another thing about personal literacy is about realistic optimism. And this is really important for all leaders, no matter what you do, whether you're in government or you're in business. Realistic optimism is imagining something possible, having hope, envisioning possibility, dreaming about a future, and at the same time being able to talk about the truth, being realistic, being honest with where you are. So that's all the psychological stuff, which is personal literacy. Social literacy is about how you interact with other people. Let me just take one aspect of social literacy that I talked about earlier, which is pragmatic trust. Remember, it's combining the attitudes of a trusting believer and a skeptical pragmatist at the same time. Now, trust is built differently around the world. If you go to China, trust is built by the quality of the relationships that you build. One of the things that has been so successful about China is that they've been able to build over hundreds and hundreds of years an overseas Chinese network, which they were able to tap when China wanted to take products outside of China. Relationships are very, very important throughout Asia, but particularly China. I think they're very important in Latin America as well. However, in the United States, how do we build trust? We build trust by creating this elaborate legal system to protect all these social Darwinists from each other, from self-interested people. We're a land of capitalists, and so our legal system protects us from each other. We also have some core principles around trust and integrity. And so different cultures sort of measure trust and build trust. And so you have to be pragmatic and skeptical and also trusting at the same time. One last thing, and that is that on these two principles, I believe that the Asians teach us best about personal literacy. And the reason is that they can hold two opposing forces inside their head at the same time. They see the world in gray. We, for example, in the United States, see the world in black and white. We are great at bullets. We're very logical. We're very analytical. We're great problem solvers. But the Asians see the world more in gray. And so I believe that they're better capable of personal literacy. I personally think that the Latin Americans teach us about social literacy. I think they really understand how to build relationships, particularly in complex, chaotic environments, which is really where the future of the world is going. So I think if you look at Latin America, if you look at Mexico, you find some real examples of business people who know how to build great business relationships because of their skills in relating and connecting with people.